absolutely the right thing to do. I'm just not sure that what I can do reasonably well is trying to map cognition and plot. I much rather mash those two layers of plot. But in principle, it's absolutely a right thing to do. Yeah.
Before I turn to someone else, Professor Stich, did you want to comment on this?
Can I throw in just one word of caution, because what caught my ear, and I'm going to start something like a broken record, I'm afraid, is you're asking about cognition or our cognition and wondering who we are. A book I'd recommend, thank you, to everyone is Richard Nisbet's book of 3, 4, 5 years ago called The Geography of Thought, where what he demonstrates is that there are quite dramatic differences in cognitive patterns, particularly looking at Western versus East Asian cognition. What brings it down to issues relevant to this session is that in some of the studies he reviews, he notes that there look to be very systematic differences in things like aesthetic cognition, painting design, architectural systems, and that these are of a piece with other differences that can be found between East Asian cultures, East Asian minds, and Western minds. So it may well be that, for example, you read these Chinese texts in ways dramatically different from a way a Chinese person would read that text.
I'm meeting one Chinese sinologist tomorrow, and I will see what she will have to say about
Billy?
Again, I'm in literature, so I'm going to address this to Professor Moretti. This actually falls on something that you brought up, Kate. Readers, observers are not part of the network. And it seems to me that right in there, what literature does is it creates parallel universes. And it seems to me that is an endless work that doesn't get halted simply at the level of network. For example, where is Gonzaga in your network of Hamlet? Or exactly. where is the world according to Miss Bates and Emma? There's a moment at which Emma and Miss Bates are seeing absolutely different worlds. And it seems to me that if we posit that literature is creating a parallel universe, it seems to me, again, that becomes almost a mise en abîme. They're parallel universes within texts, even they're certainly inferable. You have David Miller's great analysis of Middlemarch, which is really a kind of an endless narrative that is arbitrarily and halted and partialized. One of the critiques of realistic practice is that it takes a partial view of things and allows that to sort of operate synecdochically in some kind of ideological framework, where there's a way in which that can be completely turned on its head, and it can be said that partialization is actually one of the great achievements of literature, that in fact network theory can only sort of barely contain, it seems to me.
Where is the murder of Gonzaga? There is a big problem in this. What exactly, the play within the play in Hamlet? In theory, there is 7 or 8 characters who are watching the play: the king, the queen, Ophelia, Polonius, Hamlet, Horatio. I'm not sure whether Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are as well. Does that count as an edge? But we also know that they are absent-minded here and then, and so how to visualize that? How to visualize communication that is addressed to all? That is a problem, which at the scale of the chapter is easier to solve. At the scale of a play, it becomes a mess because there are different alls for different scenes, and so it becomes a mess. That's a defect of the network, no question about that. How any type of visualization of the murder of Gonzaga would alter the general structure, that is, I'm never sure what one is supposed to do with these things. Whether to have an endless series of objections that change a little bit, visualize and say, see, it doesn't change much. Let's move to, or that, for me, seems to change little. I can understand. It's the same. It's an empirical fact. Does it change a little? Does it change a lot? But that's what I would say. That was the painful decision for me in making that network. I may have chosen the wrong path. I'm not sure, again, what would have changed in the other case. Yeah.
The network sort of makes the part and the totality essentially one and the same.
Yeah, but you can then carve out parts from within the totality. That was part of the point here. But another thing that can be done, that in fact I had done, but then I didn't have time to present it, is you can see the network constructing itself. You have the first scene with the sentinels, and then the second court scene, and then the third scene with Polonius' family, and then the fourth and fifth scene. So you can see the network growing, so to speak. This is usually something very important for natural networks. For plays, I mean, I did it. I honestly didn't see anything interesting in the way it was growing. It was growing, but aside from that, I couldn't find any sort of logic really behind it, anything I had to say, and so there I stopped. I mean, no. So part and whole, I think it's useful to see them together, but it doesn't confuse them. Or
I'm going to jump in here with a quick question for both, following up on this, which is just about the relationship between diagrams in both of your talks. It seems like one thing that you both do is do a lot of formalization, and this is a very quick question, so don't have to frown at me too much, Henry, which is just, what are the, if you could just quickly, both of you answer, what are your diagrams of? Is in fact is the discussed system a mind, idealized mind, and then in Franco, are the networks ultimately networks of plays, or of parts of plays or systems within plays?
yes, they are. I mean, but I'm not even sure I understand the question. Yes, it's a diagram that abstracts just two qualities from all that exists in Hamlet, i.e., the speaker and the spoken words, the direction of the words. Not the direction, but let's say the bridge created by the words. And it uses only those two to gather a sense of the whole. So it's radically reductive. But at the same time, it seems to me to produce some counterintuitive facts.
Yeah, there were actually two different kinds of diagrams in my talk. Some of them were just meant to illustrate logical distinctions, like the distinction between moral claims and non-moral claims. But I think the ones you had in mind, the ones with lots of boxes toward the end, and the answer there is that they are a common, indeed ubiquitous tool in the cognitive sciences. And they have a very specific kind of interpretation. So there's a background meta-theory that emerged actually from philosophy and computer science, and which permeates large amounts of work in the cognitive sciences. And the idea here is that the mind can be viewed as an information processing system, and that correctly viewed as an information processing system, information processing systems can be divided into functional components, very much the same way in which programs on your computer can be divided into functional components that either do or do not exchange information with one another. So those diagrams are intended to be they're making explicit empirical claims about the functional organization of the mind viewed at